I'm Andrew Kitley, and this is my podcast, The Invisible Gift, a show about turning disability into possibility. From a young age, I was told I had a disability that would make it impossible for me to achieve and flourish in life. I struggled in school and felt I was not truly understood or supported. On my long road to becoming the owner of multiple businesses, I have learnt that dyslexia was not my disability, but rather my invisible gift. My dyslexia challenged me every day, but it was also what made me into an independent thinker, a creative, and gave me that hard-working mindset that has taught me to never be discouraged by failure. I realised there are many people out there just like me. So I wanted to learn more about them and dyslexia itself. I realised I needed a way to do this which was great for dyslexics, which obviously rules out writing anything down and makes total sense why a podcast is perfect. I'm excited to be sharing this journey with you as we learn more about dyslexia, the incredible people that thrive with it, and how we can all transform our greatest challenge into our invisible gift. Welcome to my podcast. On the show this week, we have the incredible and hilarious Angie Le Mar. Angie has been one of the most important comedians in the UK for the last 4 decades. A trailblazer for both black and female comedians, she rose to stardom in the 90s with her stand-up shows. She had a legendary appearance on The Real McCoy Show, was a regular on Loose Women, and has sold out the Apollo Theatre. In this episode, we talk about her beginnings in comedy, her struggles being a dyslexic actress, and her life now. But first, we talked about our experiences in school and the perception of dyslexia. So Angie, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you
for having me. It's great to have you here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're going to be speaking about dyslexia.
Yes.
So, I always like to start with childhood because I think that's where the most interesting stories come from.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, I have 3 brothers. We shared a very, very small bedroom. Yeah. We're all on bunks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was raised very differently from most other kids. I grew up with a very strict, well, most of my friends, not other kids. I'm sure there's loads of people like me. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of friends who had bigger bedrooms and stuff like that. I grew up in quite a poor family. Mm-hmm. So dyslexia in my house was like, shut up and just get on with it.
Okay.
So how was your childhood with dyslexia?
Well, growing up, you don't actually realise that that's what it is. I've got 4 older brothers. I'm the youngest. And my parents from the Caribbean, Jamaica. And for them, we were just about getting on with everything. Just, make the best, go to school, get an education, do what is right. That's how we were raised. And I was raised in a church family, gospel, we grew up in the church. So everything was not only religious, but with everything else on how they saw life, which was you try and get the best, be 10 times better than the rest. And so really the pressure was there, but I didn't know it was pressure. But at school, for me, growing up, I didn't know that I didn't enjoy school when I left my secondary school, my primary school, because my teacher there, Mr. Woodgate, made me feel like I could fly. And he was my English, it was our, you had the same teacher, didn't you? And they would do different things, but he was a drama teacher. So that's where I felt that place where I could express myself. So for me...
In drama classes.
Yeah. So when I went to school, that's when my secondary school, my struggles started because they wanted me to read and read aloud and do those things. And I realised that I struggle when I do this. I don't like it. I find myself that I'm dumb. I feel stupid. Like I used to look at kids who were reading just so easy and think, wow, how do you do that?
Yeah, I know exactly how I feel.
I
used to cry when they used to make you read out your name and say stand up and read the next line.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I don't like admitting that it scared the hell out of me. It was always that point of the day that I'd worry about.
Yeah. And I feel like it was after a while, let's get her to read. And I think, well, why don't you ask her to read or that one to read or this one? Because they do it better than me.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, I'm going to crack a joke because every time I crack a joke, everybody responds and my teacher tells me to get out.
Oh, yeah.
So that was it for me. I don't have to read. Go and tell me to read. I dare you to tell me to read because I've got a joke lined up and then you're going to tell me to get out and then I'm not going to read. When I look back on that's what I was doing, because I just felt this heat. If I see my teachers walking with books, I think, oh God, you're going to ask me to read. And I sat there thinking, well, you know, if I read in my mind, I'm all right. But the minute you want me to read aloud, or the minute I hear somebody reading, I think, that's not me, I can't do that. And that's how my childhood was, not being diagnosed with dyslexia. I didn't know.
No, well, it was relatively new. I'm 37 and they'd only just really discovered's probably not the right word. They only just started filtering that into the teachers at school when I was there.
Yeah.
And my parents didn't know what it was. It was all, they just picked such a random word as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Of all the words to pick for dyslexia.
I mean, wouldn't you just find a word like din?
Yeah, it seems
so we
really
could all
simple.
read it and see, you know what I mean? But dyslexia, you know, it was like, why the hardest word for people who struggle with the word?
I still struggle to spell it now.
Yeah.
And obviously with this podcast, I'm writing it quite a lot. And I'm like, what a
choice
choice of words.
I mean, I whisper it like, let me get it right in my head. I'm dyslexic.
Yeah.
Or no, I suffer from dyslexia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you go, right, so which one am I using? I go, I struggle with reading. Could you help me? You know, and as opposed to when I was at an audition once, a teacher said to me, the director said to me, do you suffer from dyslexia? And I was like, how dare you? There's nothing wrong with me. You know, because it's like you suffer from this thing, but you don't know what it is.
It's the word, isn't it? Suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are now disabled. You are unable to do that. So get yourself diagnosed before you are sick. And there is something that we could help you with this. So when I had done the test and they had said, you're actually severely dyslexic, you have issues. And I thought, well, that makes complete sense then of me. I don't feel stupid, but when I speak out and certain words and certain spellings, or if somebody, my dad used to run his own electrical company, and so they would call the house and they'd leave a number and they'd get a pen and I'd write the number down. And then my dad would come home. I say, Dad, that's the number. Then he would ring the number and said, this is the wrong number. Then I would phone the number and it would be the right number. And it would be never what I wrote. So the numbers changed, but I could remember what the number was. And he said, why don't you write it down slowly so you can hear it? But the embarrassment of saying to somebody, can you say that again? And can you say it again? And can you say it slowly again? And then you get so frustrated, you want to go, I can't do this.
No.
I can't.
It's funny. I have this now. Since meeting dyslexic people and talking about it, I tried to find out and everyone's so different. Everyone has a slightly different they do. So the most famous one for dyslexic is, they write, some people, write backwards or muddle words up. I write, so if you give me a sentence saying, I went to the shop, I would write, I went shop to the. And I didn't even realise it until my partner, she was like, why are you writing like that? And I was like, am I? I didn't even know.
But when you read it back,
it makes sense.
I went to the shop.
Yeah.
And when I'm like, I went to the shop, if I put a status up on Facebook, the amount of times I have to read it, I'm like, good morning, beautiful people. Today, I went, do you, and I'll go, right, that's clear, right?
I love the way you've done that. Do you know what? You went straight into actor mode there. I love that. It was so spot on.
But that's what you know what I mean? It's like, and you sit there and I go like that. Sometimes when it's a long one, I'll say to my husband, can you read that? And he has to read it. And then he go, you put that there, you put that there. There's no ED there. There's no whatever. And I think, but I've read that.
Yes.
Or I've posted something and I read it back and I think, thank God for edit.
Yes.
That I can go back in before people's read it and go and fix it. And I think that's the pressure all the time of writing something down, reading it back. And I'm a writer. You know?
Well, that's one of the big questions I had, which was, how do you do your job? Not just in writing, in acting, because even when I was running through today, what we was going to talk about, I wrote a few things down, the different ways we were going to structure it. It just goes. The second anything starts, it leaves my mind. And I don't know how you do that.
I think for myself, sometimes I actually don't know. I remember one play.
I say that all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I just got this thing, you know. And I think after reading the book, The Gift of Dyslexia, I was like, oh, so it is a gift.
Yes.
I just work outside the box. I'm just odd. And once I started to accept that, like I was doing a play once and everything was casted. The play posters were up. Everything was ready to go. Then the producer said to me, Angie, we're going to need the script. Now I got it in my head.
Yeah.
And I know that if I can sit down for 3 days, I can just knock it out because I've been nesting it in my head.
Yeah.
Then I just write it out and just write it out and write it. I'd freehand first because I couldn't get the writing thing first straight onto typing it out. And then I'd get a friend who could understand my writing to sit next to me and just type. Because other than that, I'd be sitting there going at space. Do you know what I mean? Because my brain goes so quick. I can't write that quick. And then, but I know I can put things in my mind and section it up and have it all ready to go. And people go, how do you see that? I said, because I've seen it inside my head already.
I've run it through. I've worked it.
I've
been in
worked it
there.
out, yeah. Where people go, I've got notes, I've got this, I've got that. And I see diaphragms and stuff for people. I think, God, that's in my head.
Yeah.
So my husband is so frustrated with me sometimes because I'll explain something. He goes, but you didn't say that. And I said, yes, I did. He goes, no, it's in your head. It's actually not out yet. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. I didn't actually explain that to you.
How much of a part does your partner play in what you do? Out of interest, because you've just said your partner. It's made me think of something.
Because I don't know how I would have actually... I've been with my husband for about nearly 37 years. And the reason why I stayed in the comedy on the circuit, because this is where women fall out, is where you're driving up and down. He loves driving. So I got a gig in Newcastle. Well, let's drive. And I'd look at him like, would you really drive there? Yeah. Well, let's go Birmingham. They're actually not paying me. They're just going to give me something to eat. That's the fee when I first started. You know what I mean? Yeah. We haven't got no money, but we'll give you a meal. I think, I'll drive anywhere for food.
So would I.
So I'm like, we're going to get some food. So we drive there. And I sometimes think that makes complete sense as to why we work, because you can understand me. He really understands that.
It's so funny. You talk to people about this, and when different people say different things, you don't think about it until you said it. And I was talking to the guys earlier about my businesses, because I've got a number of businesses, and they say, how do you do it? And I said, it's not actually me, it's my partner. See, because I have got a chaotic brain. Yeah. It's just constantly going. But she's my rock. Yeah. The person that makes sure I follow through on everything I'm doing and is there to counteract my other side of it. And that sounds exactly...
It really is. I mean, it's like I was watching the interview with Piers Morgan and Vinnie Jones on Saturday, and he was talking about his partner, and I looked at him and I said, God, I'd be lost without you. I said, I hope we die old, because I've got a lot to do, and without you, I don't know how. Yeah. Because you're just the yin to the yang. It's like you get it, and you don't think I'm dumb. My husband said to me when we started dating, he said to you, "What do you want to do when you get older? What is it you want to do?" I said, "I want to be powerful." Because he thought I wanted to be famous. I said, no, I want to be able to do things and change life.
Make a difference.
And be able to do that. And he goes, that was the thing that made him feel like, I really want to support that, because you want to make change. So that writing, those letters that people got years ago, they weren't, I didn't write them. He made me sound intelligent, because he'd go, so you want to say that, and you want to say that, and you want to say that. And they'll send it and they go, well, that's really well crafted. I said, yes, I can't write back to you straight away because I've got to wait till my husband gets home.
Yeah.
I can't respond, because if I respond, you're going to think my child came in. So it helped a lot.
I think it's amazing. Comedy. I love, who doesn't love comedy? It'd be stupid if someone said they didn't like comedy. It'd be weird. Laugh. But do you not have it when you're going to say something and your brain goes blank before you say it? Because surely you have to kind of, again, this is assumption, you correct me if I'm wrong, but in comedy you keep on work, you bring in different bits and you learn from how the crowd's reacting, and then you change and you build up on it. Is that how you do it?
Yes, because you're in two spaces in your mind. So like I could be talking to you and working out what I'm going to eat at lunch. And be quite okay with that in my brain. But I know I've got to stay here. I know I've got to keep going. And that's the thing that the comedy, I used to blank out at the beginning and think, oh, it's not what I rehearsed. It's not what I rehearsed. And my husband used to say, just talk because you're the one that's funny. And I say, no, but I didn't write that. So he'd be backstage watching me on stage going, she's going to dry because she doesn't trust herself. So I'd be going, that's my running order. That's where I'm going next. I've got it because I can see the paper. But I've gone dry now. And now I don't want to, I've got to talk. So when I started to talk, the crowd was laughing even more than what I had written. And that was confidence over the years, was like, just press through, trust what you're saying, it's coming from you, it's okay, it's funny. And that's how I kind of was able to get away from the blanks, because it was clouding me, having to remember what I wrote and just trust the gist. So I'd write gist now. So I'm going to just talk about that. I'm going to go here, go here, go here. And I have a pie chart in my head now, as opposed to the writing that I couldn't scramble out in my head. And that really helped me get through life.
Your visual descriptions is the best I've had when I spoke
Oh,
to
really?
people. It's the way, because what's funny is I don't know whether when people listen to this, they're going to understand, but maybe it's because I'm like you.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, yes, that's what I do.
Yeah.
And well, hopefully all the dyslexic people listening will get that too. They go, oh, Jesus, that's what I do.
We don't need blue paper. Did they tell you about the blue paper as well?
Oh, yeah.
It stables the writing, and this yellow paper stables the writing. And I'm like, I don't have no yellow paper right now or no blue paper. And it's not something I think to buy when I'm going out or get dyslexic glasses or Lord knows what that must look like.
It's all you need, isn't it?
Oh, here comes the glasses. So no.
The other thing I wanted to talk about is stigma around dyslexia. I find the UK is very, very behind compared to the US. And for me, the first time I heard about dyslexia, it was in the UK, it was very negative. But in the US, it was almost a positive. And how did you feel when I know you found out quite late on in your life that you're dyslexic, didn't you?
Yeah, this was in my 20s.
Yeah. And did you ever have people kind of tell you that you were going to struggle more because of it? Or did you feel stigma around it
Absolutely, because it felt like you were not clever. And so because of school not being a great example, it kind of confirmed that to me, that the reason why I couldn't do well at school, i.e. the exams and function through that, wasn't because I wasn't clever. It was because it wasn't geared to me. So I couldn't understand it. I couldn't remember what I'd learnt. So I couldn't remember. I remember sitting in an exam once and just thinking, I don't know anything here. I don't know anything here. It doesn't make no sense to me. And I'm looking at my friends who are doing their work and they're sitting there like, and they've got all the writing, and then they go and I'm thinking, what are you doing?
It's like you were sitting next to me through my childhood. I'm not joking. I remember sitting in the exams, especially maths exam, and I'm a structural engineer, which is very heavily involved in maths. And I remember looking, going, what am I doing wrong? What are you doing? And even I used to look to people that also looked like they struggled in classes, and I used to look over them going, I hope they're doing badly as well, and they'd be writing away. It's like, what am I? Oh dear!
Thinking, I did do some revision last night, and I know nothing of what these people are talking about. Then the bit at the box, and they say if you've got some extra paper for more answers, and I see my friends turning their pages over like, I've got some more. I'm thinking, what are you showing off for? Why are you doing this to us?
I remember people putting their hands up for the extra paper, and I'm like,
paper?
What are you doing? I can't even fill the first page.
I just think to myself, there should be an exit point where they say, those of you who have finished early can leave quietly. Because I've sat there thinking, my mum's going to wonder what happened. So when the results came in and it was like unclassified, I'm thinking, I don't think it was that bad.
Well, when I first saw unclassified, I thought I'd done well. I was like, whoa. Unclassified. I've nailed it.
I'm selling you.
And my mum was like, no, that's worse.
And I just thought, when my friends go, I've got 3 CC and grade 1s, I've got 2 O levels and 2 levels, I have to look at them and think, well done to you. Because and that's the part of me that feels failing. You know what I mean? And sometimes every year I think I'm going to university this year because I must get this degree so that people can see my worth. And I remember once my friends came to see a play that I'd written called 40, and it was about friends who'd met up after 25 years. And some of my friends made group bookings, and they kept saying, we always knew you were going to be funny. We always knew you were going to do this, Ange, because you were always hilarious at school. You were always that. And I thought, these exams don't matter. They don't, because I read a lot. As much as I hate the words aloud, quietly, I totally love them. And I get it, and I'm enjoying it. So I don't think of myself as a failure in the school system. I don't think the school system was for me. And
so
even the stigma.
I found out through doing this, I didn't know this until I started doing research on dyslexia, that the education system was built after the Industrial Revolution to create people to go into the work environment. Yeah. So the winners, it was designed for people who were academics. So I remember that I watched a speech and they said, who would you say is a winner who comes out of school? And really the biggest winners would be professors because they've done school, they've succeeded all the way, then they've gone back into school and now they teach it. But I find that doesn't prepare you for life at all. And I don't know if you experience this or you still ever bump into people who went to school with or see people. I found the people that struggled more at school seem to have gone on to do better things in life than the people who done really well at school.
Absolutely.
And I think this brings it all back. Everything in life for me is failure. It's moving on from failure. You fail forward, as one of the most famous sayings is. And I find that because when you're dyslexic, you fail so much that when taking risk doesn't become a problem anymore.
Absolutely. That is, when my children, I said to my kids, if you don't want to go to university, doesn't matter. If you don't enjoy school, you're good. I want you to be able to read and add up. Once you can work it out, you get through life, but you must be able to read because to be able to sit down and get information and just get on with what you've got to do. So the disappointments and the failings started so early that even walking on stage as a comedian, you can't really get to me if you don't laugh because I'm already in that space whereby rejection and disappointment is a part of my foundation. So if you don't laugh, I'll go away and work on it and come back because that's what I decided I want to do. If I want to put a play on, I write it myself. Now, I had to write my plays because I couldn't audition. And sometimes the expectation when I'd come in for an audition, they're like, we've got Angie Le Mar, she's going to audition, and everybody's sitting around going, yeah. And we're going to do a live read-through. Let's do a quick read-through. And quick read-throughs, for me, doesn't go together.
No.
So I sit there and they go, right? And my line's coming up and the actor next to me is like, so I came in and I said that and I did it. And my bit's coming up, I'm thinking, she then blah, 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 no infections, nothing, just flat. And they're looking at me like, oh, that's a bit naff. And after feeling that a few times or going to an audition and not getting it, and my agent going, but they really wanted you for the role. And I kept saying, I won't be good at the reading, I'll be good at the acting. If you're going to judge me on that, because one director said to me, the very first director who recognised that I was dyslexic said, I don't think that you can do this good, but I think you're a great performer. So I'm going to give you the job based on that. And that's how I got it. So I knew I wasn't good here. So for me, that was the whole point of me going, I'm going to write my own plays because you know what? I don't have to audition.
Because you've done a one-woman show, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's even hot. That's got to be harder than comedy.
Yeah.
You glutton for punishment. Wow.
I was in control of it.
That must feel amazing, though.
Oh, honestly, I saw Whoopi Goldberg. Now, Whoopi Goldberg for me is like my idol because what she showed me was, one, she was dyslexic. When I heard that Whoopi Goldberg was dyslexic, I was telling the whole world, Whoopi's dyslexic, I'm dyslexic, we're dyslexic, we both have this thing, and she's left-handed, I'm left-handed, she's a Scorpion, she's a black woman, all of those wonderful things I could lean on. So for me, it was about going, I saw her do a one-woman show years ago, off Broadway, and she came out with these characters that just spoke to me. And I said, I'd love to do a one-woman show in my career one day. And then when I done In My Shoes at the Soho Theatre, it was for me. This wasn't even about the audience. This was about me travelling into different characters through their shoes and just being able to say, I could do that thing, that wonderful thing that inspired me through Whoopi Goldberg. I've done it. Stand up. I love stand up. I'll always do stand up because that's my go-to place to express. But writing, being directed, and the director saying, what does your character think right now? And me being that actress going, I don't think my character would say that, you know. And so that was a good experience for me, definitely. A tick. That's one of my O-levels.
It's a great person to love. Like, who doesn't love Whoopi?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, Sister Act changed my life. I can't help but think one of you listening will one day talk about Angie the way she talks about Whoopi Goldberg. I think it's important to have dyslexic idols, and with my time I've spent with Angie so far, she is definitely becoming one of mine. Next up, we talk about Angie's amazing one-woman show, our shared love for drama, and how she believes dyslexia is her invisible gift and how it's helped her in her creative endeavours. So you've done the one-woman stand-up, and then you went on to write lots of plays. How do you now, I mean, your children are quite, how old are your children now?
My oldest is 33, then 25, and then 21. Two boys and a girl.
You're not at the depressed stage yet. My brother's in his mid-30s now. He's just turned 35, and my mum said it's the most depressing time of her life.
Oh, really?
She's got 4 boys, all over 35, which was horrendous.
Oh, wow.
She said, you wake up one morning, one day you're 17 and then suddenly you've got nearly 40-year-old sons. It's like bizarre. Wow, but so dyslexia is hereditary. Was your mum and dad, one of your mum and dad's dyslexic, do you think?
I think my mum is. I listen to the way my mum speaks sometimes, and I listen to the way she says her words, and she's so out the box in terms of the way she's absolutely planning that she's going to build a house with my dad in Jamaica and they're going to go back home, and she's very clear about what she wants. And, you know, she suffered a lot in Jamaica, but she's just been focused. But when she says things sometimes, I think, oh, because I can hear the confidence in the voice of the words, and I know where I struggle, and I hear my mum say things and I think, I don't think that's not a Caribbean accent. I think there's a confidence in words. So I think that it is probably my mum down the line, and I think my son is a bit off key as well. Like me, he's a bit. I took him out of school because I felt that he wouldn't go down that normal road. He just didn't have those skills.
I got all very bad marks in everything apart from drama, which I've done really well in, and I loved performing.
We're twinning right now, aren't we?
Do you know what? It's actually scary, and I've spoken to a few people at these conversations. You're really the first one. I'm like, wow. But drama was amazing for me, and my drama teacher, I remember, said to me, and I didn't feel it myself. I just enjoyed drama, and it was easy. And ironically, all the kids wanted to be in my group, rather than in most other subjects. No one wanted to be put with me as a partner. But I remember when we was doing our GCSEs, we had to do a play and we had to write our own. And I don't even know how I done it, but I wrote a play on child abuse. And I'd never experienced it, never really read about it. And I sat with one of the girls in my class and we just wrote this play on child abuse and how we could really impact people. And it was amazing. And my teacher said to me, Andrew, when you become famous, remember me. And I remember thinking, that's quite interesting, because it was weird when you're so used to teachers, because I don't know about you, but I also had on the flip side of it, I had teachers that told me I'm never going to amount to anything. And that is hard to get over, because at that stage in your life, I try and say to these people now about educating and how the world keeps on changing and people need to embrace that. But when you're younger, you take in whoever you see to be a person of importance to you.
Yeah.
So if it's a teacher or a parent or a priest or anything like that, the person you're seen as a senior in your community, you look to them for advice, and that's where you get your values from.
Yeah.
And if they're wrong in their values, you pick that up, and I think that's where a lot of the issues come from. So when I was younger and the teacher said to me, you're never going to amount to anything.
Yeah.
And I remember I come home, my dad won't like me saying this, but I come home and I told my dad, and that's where I get my dyslexia from. My mum's super academic.
Okay.
My dad came home, he went, what do they know? They're a teacher. And I remember thinking, wow. And he was like, it's not hard to become a teacher. And that was the first time I remember thinking, other people's opinions of me is none of my business.
Yeah. And that is, if you can get that at home, you've won. It is not in the school system. It is not outside in the world. It's at home. If you're reminded that you can fly and that you can be the best thing since whatever, you could just win. My parents used to go, it's acting then. You clearly want to do this. And that day my uncle was there. He said, she doesn't want to do that. She likes acting. Maybe that's her calling. And my parents was, because my mum was worried about me getting into acting because of the rumours, that it's couches and all that stuff. So she was scared for me. But I said, Mum, this is it for me. I'm doing this anyway. And so that was it. They just went, right, let's take her to drama classes. My dad took me to drama classes. My mum sent me to Barbara Spakes. It was like, that was the thing. They just went, she loves it. And the joy that my mum would say she felt with me, like, she never saw me so happy. It was like, I can act, I can do this, because I don't have to read. They'll say improvise. That means I can make it up. There's no script, there's no blockage. And the teachers, when they said you'd amount to nothing, there was one teacher, Mr. Benson from Lewisham Girls' School. I remember seeing him once and saying, sir, can I just apologise to you? Because I really gave you a hard time. I was so disruptive. He goes, Angie, I'm so proud of you. I tell all my students I taught you. And I'm thinking, you know what? We had a weird relationship at school, but years later, with all that you know now, you might look back and go, sometimes those kids that are acting up or disruptive, something else is going on. It's not just they're bad. I'd be outside my headmistress's room door, sitting out there, and she'd just walk past me and say, you again.
Yes.
You again. And I'd be like, hello, miss.
I used to get put in isolation so much. They used to say, I'm going to put your name on that table. Because it was a horrible place, because they used to sit you on a table between the staff rooms.
Yes.
So every teacher that would go past would see you. They'd go, and the ones that really like you used to go, what have you done now?
That's right. The nice teachers would, and there were always the drama teachers for me that would go, Angie, what's happening? I don't know, why are you behaving? Are you okay? And I'm thinking, you really do care, don't you?
Yeah.
And which is weird, because then another teacher, normally the biology teacher, will pass and look at you like...
It's always the science teachers, but they're probably the more academic ones, aren't they?
Still don't know where my appendix is. I don't know where my liver is. I know it's inside though.
It's somewhere.
So, I don't know. I think that's the most important thing, that teachers have a big responsibility. And they sometimes don't know.
With education, then, this is a question that a lot of people ask me, and I don't really know the answer, and I think it's something that's worth discussing. It doesn't just go into dyslexia, it goes into all areas of life. If we need to change it, who do you think should change it? Should it be decision makers like government or teachers, or should it be the people that actually suffer with the problems? So someone like yourself, who has now become an influential person, are you the sort of person that should, be invited to the conversation?
Yes, I definitely think so, because we have the experience to say, look, although we're against the odds, you know, and it's not that we're a small minority. We could be the majority if you allowed certain things in place. When I look at the system and I look at the government and I look at the education system, I think we are heading for a mess, a big mess. And if you don't get hold of this, it can't just be, oh, it's mental health, so therefore we'll treat that. Because we can prevent mental health. It's not all hereditary. You know, sometimes you can go, okay, this is what this person has, that's what this person has. And speak to them. I remember going to a prison once and they said to me, can we have your script before you go in and what you're going to speak about? And I remember looking at the script thinking, that's where I'm going to talk about. I'll talk about that. I won't upset anybody. But when I got into the prison and I saw these black young boys, I saw my sons. I saw my brothers. I saw my community. And I remember saying, you don't have to come back here. When you come out, it's a choice. You can do so much. That thing that you've got, if you're selling drugs, that's entrepreneurial skills. You just need to find a thing to sell that can make make the money that won't put you back here. Yeah. Years later, this guy phones my radio show and he says, hi, Angie, you probably don't remember me. You came to speak to us at a prison and you said it's a choice and I need to find my skills. And I just want to let you know, I heard you. I got out, got myself together and I'm married and I got kids. So I just want to say thank you. Now, to me, that's like saying, and this year's Oscar goes to, because then somebody heard, and I think that's, we don't get to amplify that voice enough to say, guys, come in here. Guess what you can do? I remember going to a school working with kids who are excluded. So it was a group of young girls and I walked in and they were like really swearing and kind of disrespectful. And I swore back at them. And they went, I went, oh, all right, you thought you were the only one that could swear. I got some names here, I got words I can use too. And I got their confidence and I said, I want you to close your eyes and think about that teacher who doesn't think you can pass. And their faces just went like, oh my God. And I could see their teacher. And I said, why don't you, just like you can learn the Usher songs, why don't you learn all your exams in this last year and prove to them you didn't need 5 years, you only needed a year and you can knock it out. I see this girl at my son's ceremony for his graduation. That's right, sorry. And she came up to me, she goes, you don't remember me, do you? I went, no, I have no idea who you are. She goes, you came to our school and you told us to close our eyes and imagine how our teacher would be upset if we had passed our exams, what teacher that was. And I did it. A village is coming back again. And I think the importance of now and just the lack of judgment, like you can say, I can't read well nowadays. Yeah. You can say it because now we've got that set up for us to be able to say, I'm dyslexic. And now there were people coming out saying, I think I'm dyslexic. I'm like, no, you can't. You just can't read that word. So don't try and put it on to be that because it's not that.
I do find a lot of people saying they're dyslexic now, even if they're not.
I'm just saying, they go, I can't see that word. Oh, I'm dyslexic. No, you're not. You're not. You're good. You're all right. Read that really quickly and I'll tell you if you're dyslexic. Because I'm telling you, when those words disappear and they jump up and go, we're up here and now we're down here, and you miss out 5 words and you go straight to that word and you think, I don't know how that happened. I don't know what's happening. That heat, you know how much work I've not had because of that? Like presenting work and doing, just presenting work in different environments. I've had to say, ahead, I'm dyslexic. So I don't need the script. Yeah, I can remember it. And they go, well, actually, we need it to be written down. I said, I can give you pointers, but I can't write it down.
Do you know when I started this podcast, I contacted a dyslexia organisation because I wanted to speak to the person that ran it because she's doing some really great things in the industry, and her team told me to write out my plan and send it in. Ouch. And I was like, no. What? No. I remember going back, what have you might as well just get me to stand up and read in class. That's what it felt like. I was like, you want me to put I said, just 5 minutes of your time. I just wanted to ask some questions about dyslexia. She knew definitely a lot more than me. I was like, just 5 minutes, it'd be really great. And she was like, I'll just send it in and we'll have a read and then we'll see. And I was like, no.
The worst thing you can say to somebody who's dyslexic is send a proposal.
Yeah.
Because now I don't want to do it.
Yes.
Now I can't, because you want words in there that I can't find straight away. So what I have to do is get a team together and say, look, this is what I want to say. This is my aims. This is my objective. This is what, make it look good so that I can send it. I say to people, look, I got great brain. I need you to capture it for me. I need you to get what I'm thinking on paper and let's go and sell. But what I found was that trying not to explain things to people, I'd go, I'm going to have to show you. I can't tell you. I'm going to have to show you. So when I go for a play and they say no, I'd write my own play. And they said, what are you going to do with it now? I'd say, I'm going to book that theatre. And they go, well, have you directed before? No, I just know that. Face forward, guys. Here's the audience. Walk in that way. You guys walk in there. Then I went to learn to do directing. Then I thought, okay, here's the technical stuff. Then I learned how the lighting goes, because guess what? I'm going to do it all by myself so that I don't have to have people come in and go, well, actually, you can't do that because technically you can't. And I'm like, no, just don't block me.
Yes.
I see the outcome because I've got the vision. Once I've got the vision, you can't stop me.
No.
And even if I gave you my notepads or saw my paper, my mum always used to say, if people could see your writing and how your notepads, and I'd write one word on a page and it would be all over the place and it makes sense to me, and don't clear up my office. Once my daughter cleared up my office, she was helping me. So she said, I'm going to clear your office up. And I came back and I was like, oh my God, this is a nightmare. Where's everything?
That's great. Christina, please don't clear up my office.
Because
that's exactly what I have.
It's like someone will say, where's that thing? And I go, oh, it's underneath this paper, underneath that torn paper at the corner over on the side. And they go, but why don't you put it in an organisation and just have it filed up? Because the minute you file it up for me, it's over.
I have a whiteboard at home. It looks like hieroglyphics. It's funny because Tony Robbins, who isn't dyslexic, but he at his events, he writes on the board, and you can never read anything he's writing. Yeah. But for some reason, it works. Yeah. When I see him do it, it's an expression, isn't it? Yeah. And you see the expressions, and that's
the board writing. You know, when you see people standing up doing like a presentation, and they start writing. I tried to do this once. I thought, you know what you're doing, Ange. You know what you're going to write. Copy what you've got here onto there, and you'll win. I started writing, and I thought, no, let me explain it to you. Because I just couldn't do that natural. And here's the board.
Well, I end up doing this. I was like, I don't know how anyone writes straight. Yeah. It's bizarre.
It's a gift for them. Their gift, our gift.
Listening to Angie, there seems to be a lot of similarities between our outlooks, experiences, and our independence. It's inspiring to hear someone who has achieved so much but still stays so humble. It's clear to me that Angie clearly loves helping others. It's like what she's had to work against in life, whether it be racism, sexism, or her dyslexia, has made her more empathetic and a compassionate person, and what a person to be around. What is your invisible gift, would you say? What has dyslexia given you that, in fact, rather than being the kind of negative, it's spin it and being positive? What has it really done for you as a person?
I got this natural ability to walk in. I can walk into two people arguing. I can walk into any situation and I can make it, I can fix it. I can fix it. I think that's one thing I can do. I can walk in and go, I don't think you really want to fight. I don't think you're really angry. I think there's a misunderstanding here. And I can get in between. I've always been able to go, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And so I've got this thing, I can read the room. I do a workshop called Read the Room, and it comes from being a stand-up as well, because I can look at somebody and go, I don't think you're not laughing at me. I think you're here because somebody said, you need to get out, your mum's died. You need to get out tonight. But I can't make you laugh because that's unreachable right now. And I can read the room. So I've always been able to kind of sense danger or sense something. That's what it's given me. I've got that kind of ability to, I know when people are sad.
You're doing it again. It's like you're living my life. What are you doing?
Oh, wow, really?
It's exactly what I do. When I go into a room, I can just feel instantly what's going on. I always say I have Christina always says, I have this innate ability to tell who's a good person and who's not.
Yeah.
And I think I've always said again with dyslexia, it's always impossible to explain it.
Yeah.
But the only way you could say it's like someone asking you to explain love. You can't explain love. There's no words.
That's right.
There's no verbal representation of it. But I always end up saying things like, it's like their aura. Even though saying that stupid thing, that's unlike me to say. And I'm like, it's just something about them. And I think it's reading people. But I don't know where that comes from in dyslexia.
I think it's a sensitivity. We know what it's like to sit here going, no one knows I can't read. No one knows what I'm actually going through right now in this room where they're going to say, Angie, could you read paragraph 15? What that's like killing me right now and how that affects me. So because I know what it's like to be that one person who would rather just die right now than go through that. I've turned work down, like panel work and panel list work and stuff. I took one gig that's coming up in the next couple of weeks where I thought, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to trust myself and do it, because I think that comes to that person who is, I recognise that one person because I was that one person. So I walk down the street. If I see a homeless person, I will be the one going, so how did it happen? How did you get into this? Because you're that one person right now. So I can't stand when people walk past people who want something to eat. I do know there are some people who take advantage. Yeah. But sometimes I can look in the eyes and go, how did you get here? I was doing a radio show once on when I was on Choice FM, and there was this couple that were slumming it. Every Saturday morning I'd give them money for their coffee. But she was pregnant. And I couldn't get my head around the fact that she was homeless and pregnant. And every Saturday morning it'd be like, you know. And then one day I was doing a press launch, a red carpet, and I was just walking in. And there they were. And they shouted out, Angie, we're the boy. His name's Jack.
No.
I'm telling you.
That's amazing.
That was when I just thought, oh, wicked. Have we got our home? We're all right. That moment, as I walked in, I thought, we do not see the people. That's what we're missing. We don't see the people anymore. And that hurts because I don't know if they see me when they're walking past. I think, why do people see me when they're begging for money? I'm walking, that person's gone ahead and they go, can you give us? And I think it's in my head, it's in my face. And I'm all right with that. I'm all right, because this £1, whether you smoke it, drink it, or buy a hamburger, let it ease that pain for a minute, because that's the pain I needed to ease at school. A couple of years ago, I'd started a gospel musical because I went back in the church.
Do you sing?
No, I can't sing. That's the one thing I can't do.
Because I love gospel music.
So I went back to church. I was raised in the church. I left the church and I came back and I was like, you know what? I want to do this gospel musical. But I advertised it with actors who had never acted before. So if you're a Christian actor who felt, I can't do this because guess what? The world says, the church says I can't. So I done this audition and I remember saying, you don't have to have acted before because I'm going to train you. And I remember the first day of rehearsals, I said, we're going for sellout and standing ovation. And they looked at me like, you're going to trust us, a cast of about 20, with a standing ovation and sellout. And I said, look, I really know how to do this and I'm going to do it. And that night when we sold out and the audience stood up, I sat back and I thought, they didn't think they could do that. I was that person. And we had some really difficult characters, some of them, you know, like felt that they couldn't do it and shouldn't be there. But I had to convince them. We all have a place on stage. Some of us it's for a lifetime, some of us for a moment. But that is what we're here to do. And if you can get that because of what I've gone through, then this whole chain makes sense.
What's the plans for you over the next 12 months? Because that's a big one. You've done so much up to now and you get up really early, loads of times awake. What's the plan for you for the next 12 months?
Well, I think this year, 2020, has really woken us up to what it's like not to be in control. Because when you're in control all the time and that's taken from you, you can plan with all the, you know, plannings that I had this year. I'm now thinking, okay, where am I going to do that from? Because what this shutdown has shown me, so I don't have to be in this country. I can be anywhere. And as my mother goes back to Jamaica, I live in Jamaica.
When she go?
She goes back on Friday.
Wow.
So I live in Jamaica in the winter months. So
You're not supposed to make me jealous.
on top of it.
What are you doing
Fly
to me?
over. Anytime you're in Jamaica, call me. So I normally go December and come back around about March, April.
Yeah.
So I come back with the daffodils. I say to my friends, look, when the daffodils grow, I shall arrive.
Brilliant.
You know what I mean? So I think I'll do it longer this time. I'll probably go and realise that the things that I've learned to do online, in terms of being able to teach online, communicate online, and just create a new world. And I want to do more writing. So to be away, I think I'll be away next year, going to America once America settles again. I think I have to wait till a lot of things settle. So in that time, I think it's writing, producing, and get ready for when the world has opened back up again.
I think things shouldn't go away.
Yeah.
I think we should change, pivot. I always use the word pivot because we're doing businesses. Something happens, good business owners pivot. And I think we need to pivot on everything.
Yeah.
Because I think we've been stuck in our ways too long in so many different areas of our lives that we've it's got to this point, and it's always a stressing point in everything. There's always a time when it hits critical and then everyone needs to change. What we shouldn't do as a planet, probably the best way of saying it, because the issues are all over the world, is we shouldn't just let it try. Because a lot of people keep saying to me, "Oh, we've got to go back. I just want it to get back to normal." I don't. I want it to change. We've got so much to do. Yeah. And I said, I think the big question they ask in the tech industry is, what do we do when AI comes in, artificial intelligence, and so many people lose their jobs? And I keep on saying this is a key thing, and this goes back not just to dyslexia, every subject. Yeah. When we don't have to work as a people, what do we do with our lives? Where do we find our purpose? And there's a lot of soul searching that's got to go on.
And I back that up with this workshop I'm going to start once I can physically get out, called Shift Into Your Gift. And what yeah, because
behave yourself. How did you come? Was that you or did you?
No, I get it downloaded. It's just like, because I'm doing these workshops and these conference calls, and I'm talking about transitioning from this place to that place, because someone told you could only do this. Yeah. I transitioned from stand-up comedy to doing radio, to writing plays, to directing, because we're told jack of all trades, master of none. And that is mentally got into our brains, as opposed to you can do what you want and you can change your mind at any given moment and decide, actually, I want to do this. Because one day I might actually say, I want to be slim, and bang, I'll be slim. Yeah. Hasn't worked yet, but I'm working on it. Hasn't worked for me either. And
I say it every other month.
I was on a diet this Monday, but because of COVID, I can't. But that is really the thing, is about what is your purpose? Because when Chadwick Boseman died last week, everybody was going, but it was too soon. It was too soon. But I said, no, it wasn't. Think about his life and all that he's achieved. He was on purpose. He was going through his life deliberately going, I've got to do that, I've got to do that, I've got to do that, I've got to get it done, got to get it done. Because he knew we have to act like we know we're going to die. Because some people don't think they're going to die. We have no date, but let's act as though there is a date and get all the things that we naturally do. Because some people naturally knit, but no one's ever said, why don't you sell that? You can sell it online and become a millionaire. You don't even know. That's why I think being dyslexic has showed me out the box all the time. Like, I can't do that, so why don't I create that? Yeah. It's so fantastic. That's why Shift Into Gift is going to be about time to shift, because this year has taught you, if anything, you can't get caught napping. You really need to be ready to do this.
For a good time, not a long time. We need to get stuff done.
Yeah. Yeah. There isn't a room that I can't get into. Yeah. From I was young, I was like that. I'd go to the West End and I think, I want to see that production, but I can't get in there. I can't afford these tickets. And I go there, me and my friends, and go, hi, we're on the guest list. And this and so from that point in life, if you can convince somebody enough, I remember I wanted to meet Joan Rivers. Joan Rivers was at the Queen's Theatre, and I went backstage and I thought, how am I going to get into that room to get her autograph? So I went up to the stage door. The security was there. And I said, has Joan come down yet? Looking really tired, and goes, no. I said, I'm a makeup artist. Could you excuse me, please? And he went, okay.
Ah,
And I thought, wow.
how have you saved that to the end of the podcast? I mean, seriously, that's a great one. Although I always say you can get anywhere with a high vis. Put on a high vis,
you can get
anywhere. And I prove it. I design a lot of structures for stadiums and event space, and I literally walk anywhere. No one ever asks me a question.
I want to do it with a clipboard. I'm going to go in there with a clipboard and just go, excuse me. Yeah. Andrew said this was right. Yeah. And I've been wondering, why am I in this building? It's not built yet. But anyway, it was good to try. Yeah.
Brilliant. So where can people find you? If they want to look for you, where can they find you?
It's just the website, angielemar.com. Everything that's coming up for 2021 should be up there, and any workshops that I'm doing.
And you're on Insta?
I'm on Insta, angielemar.com, Facebook, angielemar.com, Twitter, angielemar.com, you know what I mean? It's all out there.
Got them all out there.
Yeah.
Brilliant. We haven't got you on TikTok yet.
No, I'm not. Sometimes you just got to say, let the young people.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
This has been awesome.
And I feel like I've got a twin now.
Yeah. I think it's dinner next time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. Angie has been a massive eye-opener for me as a person. She impacted me quite emotionally through this conversation. Her similarities to me scared me in the fact that I thought I was very alone, but since speaking to her, I realised that we have such shared experiences that it's obviously common, and I think you guys listening will really understand and resonate with that. I hope you all got as much as I did from that, and I hope it really made you smile, because it made me smile. Angie, I can't wait to get you back on the podcast, and I hope we can do it again soon. Ever wondered what it's like to work with the royal family? Want an insight into the life of a professional butler? Well, somehow I've managed to convince Grant Harold, butler to the royals and dyslexic, to join me on the show next week. You might know Grant from the BBC series Country House, or you've seen one of his hilarious YouTube videos, but I can promise you this is an episode you don't want to miss. Just a couple of quick notes before we go, they're important ones. First off, make sure to subscribe to The Invisible Gift wherever you listen to podcasts so you can automatically be notified about new episodes. One thing that's really important to me is to hear what you guys think about the podcast. I want to hear more about the challenges you're facing, what you're trying to change in your own life, work and family, and hear your inspiring stories of how you've overcome the odds to achieve the incredible. I know because so many of you are dyslexic that asking you to write something to me is not going to work. So I've worked with the production team on The Invisible Gift, and we've come up with an idea. Grab your phone and record us a voice note. If you've got an iPhone, use voice memos. On Android, the options are endless. Once you're happy with your message, you can email it to me. My email address is andrew@theinvisiblegift.com. I would love to start sharing some of your audio notes and stories in future episodes. Also, and I'm really excited about this, head to theinvisiblegift.com because that way you can see the amazing artwork that has been commissioned to go along with each episode this season, and also find out more about each of the guests I've had the pleasure of speaking to on the podcast. If all of this is way too much for you, I get it. I'm starting a newsletter that includes all this and more, and it will come straight to your inbox. It's so simple to sign up at theinvisiblegift.com. You've been listening to the Invisible Gift podcast, presented by me, Andrew Kitley, and produced by One Fine Play. This episode was recorded by Kazra. From One Fine Play, James Bishop is the executive producer. Kazra is the audio and visual engineer. Connor Foley is the editorial producer and researcher. Special thanks to Christina, Izzy, and the Cube Studios. Thank you for listening to the Invisible Gift podcast.